on in. Come on in. And we had a great boost coaching call yesterday. Love it when I get on the call, the Zoom session with you. I love it when that happens. And it's so neat to dig in. You know, the biggest thing is you realize that everybody, you, me, everybody is in the same spot. If you haven't ever done that, make sure you get on a coaching call someplace because you'll really hear that, man, we're all just in this together and it's awesome. So speaking of being in it together, we're in this life together, but we all follow certain patterns in life. In fact, on the call yesterday, Marcellus, one of my longtime members, 15 years or so, mentioned the pattern thing that I talk about all the time and how patterns can change everything. Lewis Gates, a spiritual advisor of mine, has taught me something about that in the past couple of years. I've mentioned to it probably twice a year. I really like it. And this time of year it happens because, we're coming into a time of the year that decidedly it's different. It's different. It's not going to be long here before everybody gets busy with kids and family and the holiday season. Spiritual, religious, whatever. It's going to happen. Personally, I go down that route a little bit. So you're going to hear me on this time of year start to slide into that a little bit more. Don't really go the universal road all that much, a little bit. I don't really go the religious road that much. I kind of split the difference and make it important to me and to you. We'll go down that road a little bit. My first wife passed away this time of year, about coming up on our 17th year of that. So you're going to hear it in the upcoming shows. It's just nothing I can do about that. But that's okay. I like things that are good. That there's nothing I can do about. How are you? My name is Scott Smith, founder, chief motivating officer here at motivationtomove.com. Welcome to the party, where it's all about getting up and getting it done every single day. It's all about continuing to do what you say you want to do, no matter what gets in the way. It's not about a list of do this, and this. We can do that in one webinar, one seminar. I can do it in line at the grocery store. This is about engaging with life, engaging with the world, taking the time, absorbing the conversation, listen to the nuance and the stories, listen between the lines, find the nuggets that move you today. There are a few coming, I promise you that. Maybe more than you think. We could all use that, couldn't we? Let's talk about my friend Lewis. Lewis is a very interesting, he used to work in a nursing home. And I think he's been with about 1,000 people when they passed away. And now he's a spiritual pastor and all the things that encompasses. Smart guy, thinks about the world in a different way. People say, Scott, what's your background in more of the spiritual, universal stuff? Deeper than I talk about. I just don't go there a whole lot, but I have a lot of neat experiences in that world. I can go there a little bit anyway. But Lewis has been the guide for that. Lewis was the guy that actually handled my late wife's celebration of life years ago. Kind of a fun story because we were very spiritual and we had 300 people. Half were from the suburbs, half were from a little town of Casadega. Look it up and you'll see what I mean by that. So where are you in your life right now? Where's your life? The cycle of your life. We're in a cycle right now. Every single year, annually, we have a cycle. We're coming into the holiday season. Manly, womanly, personally imposed. Every single year we go. Or is it advertiser imposed, huh? Yeah, I'm telling you, most things in life are. Listen, I like advertisers. I do, because if an advertiser didn't decorate the stores and put up the sales and play all the holiday music and the Christmas music, and where would we be? So it's all advertiser, all somebody imposed. It just happens, but there's a cycle that comes into play every single year. And we like it, don't we? Until we don't, then it's time to get another cycle. Same thing with your life. So when Lewis first introduced this concept to me, I began looking at it, and I've had this about 20 years now. So I've been able to go through a couple cycles. It's a 9-year cycle. So listen closely if you're seeing this in your life. Now, let me say up front that these things are sometimes, I think it's a sophistication thing, basically. It's becoming aware of something, getting more aware of it, getting very comfortable with it, kind of getting over it, letting it go, finding something new. Schwartz levels of sophistication, an advertising model, it's the same concept. Because we all as humans go through the same thing. You're going to find things you like, interesting. You're going to explore the possibilities, fire up the anticipation engine. Something gets your attention. It becomes a passion for you. Before you know it, that's your purpose in life. It means something to you. Then I'm over it. Let's do something else. That's kind of what this is. So what are the cycles? Well, they start at 0. When you're born, the cycle starts happening. That's the year. You're not going to do this as a baby. Let's jump forward to like in your 30s or 40s, okay? So just start at 0 and go every 9 years, and you'll get there. So say you're 45. That's the start of a year. At 45, you decide what you want and you start asking for it, which means, a lot of likelihood, you've been going through something in your past and you've decided to make a change. Year 2 comes around, and because you've been thinking about it for about a year, stuff starts to happen, right? What comes around goes around. It takes time. Sometimes the person who will give you what you want's on vacation and they're out of cell phone reach. Why weren't they calling me back? Why did it take so long? Because I was in Antarctica. It took a while. Duh. Scott logic. So what happens is you decide what you want, and about a year later-ish, somewhere there, you start to kind of get the pieces come together. You start to narrow your focus. You ever done that? You ever set a big goal, big wide goal, and you don't know how to do it, and then you start to go, wait, I think I got an idea. It takes some time. So about the second year, you get that. Third year, the resources begin to arrive. Now, by the way, I will tell you, I am in second year right now of another cycle. I'm in second year. And those of you who have known me for a while, if you paid attention for the last year, as we get to the end of this list, you'll say, oh, yeah, that's what's been going on. I'm in second year right now. The pieces come together, narrowing focus. Going to really narrow it here in a couple months. The resources begin to arrive in the third year when you start to commit into that a little bit. The fourth year, you find yourself moving toward your purpose in life. Remember, our attention is where we land. Everything goes, hey, I'm interested in that. And that's going to become something we do. We invest our time and energy in it. That becomes our passion in life, at least for that time in our life. And we have many passions. In fact, I think there are 6 passions. We'll talk about that later on. But what ends up happening is you start to do it. And as you move toward it, it begins more meaningful for you. Why? Because when you're engaged in something meaningful to you, investing your time and your energy in it, it becomes purposeful for you and eventually becomes a part of who you are. And that's part of the meaning of life. So it takes a few years to get into that, about 4 years to start moving in that direction. And then once you get into it, you're like, wait, what was I thinking? I'm kind of in, not a newbie anymore. I figured it out. You reevaluate things. You toss out what you don't need. It's kind of like you ever jump out of an airplane? I threw my kids out of an airplane for their 18th birthday, every one of them. They had a parachute and an instructor, but a big parachute. Why? Because there were 2 people and they were beginners. They didn't need to have the fancy parachute. They had a big parachute. So what do? Well, you get the big parachute. The more you jump, the more you learn. Eventually you get a small maneuverable chute and you dial it in. Don't need that big thing anymore. I ride motorcycles. I tell people, don't buy my motorcycle. Buy a small motorcycle, and then you get a big motorcycle later. You start dialing in what doesn't work and what you need. Take some time, though. Your focus intensifies in year 6, and you'll work with the resources that you need and you have, and you're going to work for you. You'll see that happen. Basically, you're cleaning out a little bit and focusing on what you know really, truly works. Year number 7, you kind of take stock on what doesn't serve you. This has been going on for me for a couple of years now. I have looked at things that, on the surface, they served me very well, but ultimately, did they really move me in the direction I wanted to go? No, and it takes some time to undo that stuff. So you start looking at that about 7 years into your thing, and you go, okay, I don't need this anymore. You sure? But you like it. You like to do it. But it's good for you. People like it when you do it. Yeah, but I'm going to change anyway. I know I kind of play with this, but isn't it the way we think? Yeah, it is the way I think anyway. And I think like a lot of people do. Year number 8, you start to clear the clutter. It's almost time to start a new cycle. And now that you've said, I got to get rid of stuff, thought about it, now it's time to get rid of some of this stuff, and you start doing it. Have you ever decided to shut down a business? Have you ever lived on a 12-acre farm with alpacas and decided to sell it? Now you know about clearing the clutter. You understand. You get me. It begins to happen. Year number 9, you start to explore what to do in your next cycle. You start to pay attention to it. You're thinking about it. You have some ideas. You don't really believe you can do it yet. It's so different than what you've done in the past. But you start thinking about it, don't you? And then you start that cycle all over again. So here's what I'd like to invite you to do. Again, this can be accelerated. It can be slower. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's pretty close to it. It's going to follow the way you think and the way you act and how you react to things. Pay attention to where you are right now, 9 years from the day you were born, and see if you can spot the cycles throughout your life. If you can, and you will begin to believe in the process and you'll relax a little bit. Doesn't mean you can't change today. You can. But it's still going to follow the same, awareness path, I guess, what we call it. Hey, get my Scott Logic email. I'm having a good time writing this. And you're going to have a good time reading it. It's literally written for you to open it up, go, hey, that's a cool thought. Maybe smile a little bit. Yeah, that's a different way of thinking about things. I learned something. Boom, move on with your day. And it's really great if you can't get to the podcast that day because it is based on that day's podcast. So we're talking about the cycle today on the Scott Logic. Go to motivationtomove.com and get that. You can see me at Facebook too, dailyboostpodcast.com/Facebook. We streamed the Boost coaching call there the other day. That was awesome. And of course, if you haven't seen me and all my beardly goodness, still kind of new. go to dailyboostpodcast.com/Facebook. In the meantime, tomorrow's Friday. Got a question for you tomorrow. Knowing your why. Can't talk about that enough. And it's tomorrow's show.